Welcome, everybody. This is a new Southside FC podcast. We are going to be titled Den of Kings. I am going to be your host and owner of the show. Well, not actual owner of the show, but I'm the owner of the team. My name is Goddard Ogutu, and my other co-host is...
My name is Gabe Rodriguez, and I am the head coach of Southside FC.
Perfect. Awesome. We are really excited, both Gabe and I. We're excited to talk to everybody about all things Southside and what we are doing here and how we are growing. But in order for us to be able to do that, we are going to have to learn a little bit more specifically about you, Gabe. Gabe, tell everybody kind of what you're doing, how long you've been here, and let the people know who you are.
Yeah. So I've been coaching for almost about 4 years now, starting with Academy Ball, and then leading to here. I'm coming into my second season with Southside FC. At that same time, looking to get that championship because unfortunately we came second, but that won't happen this year with the new team that we have. But we'll get into that later another time. But yeah.
Awesome. So a little bit about me. I am the owner of Southside FC. I started this team it's going on almost 2 years now. Later this year will be 2 years. And so it's been a long journey on ownership and just trying to build the team with Gabe and trying to approach it. So I have a little bit of a soccer background, done a little bit of coaching over the years, and then eventually an opportunity for ownership came. And so I said, why not? And let's do it for the south side of Kansas City, which is where I grew up, and always give back to the community. So I'm hoping that this will find the community and that they will come out and support us. So here's kind of the breakdown for everybody in terms of what we are hoping that this show will bring. We are going to be looking at all kinds of things that are related to Southside. So that means we're going to be looking at detailed player information. So we might have some interviews with players. We will do some interviews with Gabe or some of the other coaching staff members, and along with any analysis of games that we kind of want to look at moments and just kind of break things down. And also, this might be an opportunity for some match previews too. Gabe, what are you most excited about to get into in terms of future podcast episodes?
Realistically, actually showing people what we have to offer behind the scenes as well, because, from what you see in our social media, it's always, what we want to feed you. But once we come to this podcast, it's always about if someone has a question, we'll answer that question here, or if anything, we'll answer broad questions and help out that way, because just like I was saying before, in our social media, we post just, what happens during game days, as in the lineups, maybe some clips of a goal here and there, and then player of the match. But with this podcast, I'm really excited about how we can dive deeper into that. Especially this season, we're going to be having some recording on these games, so we can go, deep dives into what happened here, and I guess you can start to judge me on what did I do wrong on my game plan with my coaches. But that is the biggest thing. It's going to be a lot more analytical and more on the focus of, behind the scenes, instead of just seeing what's going on social media.
For sure. And I think that from our perspective, it's about producing content for the fans and providing them insight into who we are. And I love the idea of this podcast being that for the fans, because, like you said, it's just kind of what we portray out front. And now not only will first of all, I think everybody should come to the games, because the games are exciting, especially when we play. It's absolutely exciting. But now you'll kind of get a little bit more of a deep dive, and especially those that are, from the players when they're able to make it and talk. So we're trying to bring the fans in, so that way they can kind of see under, they're in, in the den, if you will, keep with that moniker of Lions. So that is, very, very exciting. Okay, so in terms of like generally, what can people expect if they were to come out to a Southside game? What can they expect game wise? What are they going to see? What should they be looking for the team?
Team wise, just expect a lot of goals. That's going to be the most exciting part for fans when it comes to game day. Not only just of what we're focusing on, fan experience with, potential raffles, potential KC celebrities coming out to the games. But in general, when it comes to game time kickoff, we're looking at a lot of goals, a lot of strategical movements with the ball. I know some people might say it's a little boring, but at the end of the day, though, we want to show people that local soccer doesn't just mean it's a whole bunch of dads playing, 30 over leagues and just send the ball over and we'll tap it in. No, we want to show that local soccer here in Kansas City can play as close, if not to what professionals can play, especially since we have local talents that we want to show off here in Kansas City. We also have players from all around the nation because of, local colleges. And then we also have foreign players from different nations because of those different colleges. So it's a mixture of where it's going to be exciting of you get to meet new faces, maybe new cultures out there. And then, it's just going to be an exciting time. Goals and cultures and a lot of new faces.
For sure. I'm excited about the team. The team has been shaping up well, but we'll kind of dive into the team in a future episode, so that way everybody kind of gets a glimpse at everybody, or hears a little bit of something about everybody. But be on the lookout for that episode here in the coming days and weeks as we kind of get ready for the season. I think and then we'll touch the schedule on a future episode as well, but we'd be remiss to not mention though that the season starts April 5th in the Select League, which is where we play. So we'll talk about schedule, teams that we'll be playing against, and some of those things. But without necessarily talking too much on the schedule or the roster, tell us, Gabe, what are the aims and the achievements of the team this year? What are we looking to achieve this year? What's the goals?
So besides the championship, it's going to be a lot of. I'm going to have to really depend a lot on the players, only because, I'm not on the field. I can only give them a direction of where to go and, set the game plan. But at the end of the day, it's up to the players if they can execute, which I do believe they can. But at the end of the day, though, there's a reason why there's results. And we'll find out what those results in, the next few weeks, especially with, I think, less than 2 weeks now.
As of this recording right now, it's 10 days. 10 days from the start of the season.
So yeah, April 5th is our home opener, an away game. So it's going to have to be a lot when it comes to the players on executing the game plan. That's one of the main objectives. And once we see how that goes, then, bit by bit is when we see our goals, accomplishing. The way I see it is, even though I have my eyes on the championship just because we fell just under on winning it, right now, we have to start with each game time or game day. So, for example, I know it's really exciting what we got going on April 12th on our home opener. On the office side, it's very exciting. But when it comes to the coaching side, that is set. That's elsewhere right now. April 5th is what we're looking into with Antioch FC. Antioch FC being a real. The only reason why I say a real threat is because we know nothing about Antioch FC when it comes to what kind of players have they signed. They just came, because of Lee Summit, not being able to, join the league again. So Antioch stepped up. So Antioch can be a threat only because I don't know what level of threat can they bring, and that's the scariest part, is trying to figure out a game plan without even knowing what team they are, compared to if we were going to play a Olathe again, or if we were going to play a Woodland. I at least have an idea of how we played them last season and how we can how we can come to the game. But this April 5th is going to be either we win or it's going to be a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, for sure. There's lots to look forward to, and we'll have to kind of figure out a format or a way that we can also invite some of the players on to come talk. Obviously we won't have them all on at once, but one at a time. Interview and talk to them and see what they think, especially post games, because from their perspective, especially in a bit of a new format, which I think we can kind of maybe touch on that a little bit. So there have been some adjustments. Those that have followed us since last year will remember that there was a lot of different things that kind of occurred, like where it was like unlimited substitutions, which there was an agreement that had to be adjusted. So we're going to 7 subs only throughout the entire game. So that's going to be a big adjustment for the players on the team, but also for the league as a whole. Because not everybody is going to be a college athlete, right? Or a former semi-professional or professional player. So my question to you, Gabe, is how are you going to be looking to adjust to something like that this year?
Yeah, it's going to be a big thing, especially because this would be my first season doing something like that. If you look at it, college doesn't necessarily do it 100% that way, where it's like you can't even come in. Mm-hmm. For sure, academies don't do it. High school doesn't do that. So it's a new thing when it comes to, pros do it all the time. But this is going to be a different style, and it's going to have to come with a new style of method of when it comes to game plan, especially because last season, right? If one of my wingers needed a rest because they were coming up and down a lot, then I would pull them, put another player on for about 10 minutes, and then once they were ready, switch them out and then call it a day. Kind of like basketball, which is what I love about basketball. You can always do rotations. You had your main player, your starting 5, then you had your role players, right? But this year it's going to be a lot of, I'm going to have to really depend on a lot of my players, especially when it comes to conditioning wise, because this is we'll see what, how, if it will hurt us or not. I really do believe our guys are conditioned, especially because a lot of them are college players. So, they stay in shape, and right now they're in spring ball right now. So that's helping them out. But it's going to be, it's going to be a little bit tricky when it comes to choosing the right players, because you can't switch them back in. If you pull out a player who you thought, wasn't putting a lot, I don't want to say putting a lot of effort, but you think this bench player could, be putting more,
putting a shift
team.
in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you go, I made a mistake. It's too late. You already made that mistake, and you can't.
Yeah.
They have to stay in the game now. So that's going to be really tricky for us.
Yeah, the stakes are going to be for sure, and I sometimes you kind of forget about that, considering how things were last year for the league. So mistakes are going to be that much more exposed. Like you can't quickly rectify. So this is going to be an adjustment for everybody. And there are going to be a lot of interesting moments. I think this change is going to bring a lot of interesting moments. A lot of people will be tested on so many different fronts, because the reality is some people have never quite dealt with things like this, because, with it being local talent for the most part across the league, not all of them have played at super high competitive levels. They might have the ability, but never had the opportunity. So this is going to create some very interesting moments, not only for us but for everybody involved. So we'll have to wait and see what that looks like. Okay, so I think lastly, by the way, I'll be honest, I missed it. Did you mention about the U.S. Open Cup, like what that being one of our goals?
No.
Yeah, that's
I wasn't kidding. I wasn't kidding when I was saying my focus is just game to game to game.
Yeah.
I
So,
was not kidding.
one thing, because we are part of the U.S. Soccer Pyramid, we have the opportunity to play in the qualifying rounds of the U.S. Open Cup. So we would be able to, if we make it into the main tournament, it would be through the Open Division. So we would have to go through qualifiers, and that would be at the latter part of this year. So that is one of our big goals, our big aim, and it's this opportunity to say, hey, we're a force to be reckoned with, and we're here to play. But first and foremost is, one, register and be a part of it. Two, if we can win the region, hey, that means we're in the main tournament in 2026, and who knows what happens from there. You know, it might be like, bring on Sporting, and we'll take them down. You know.
No. We'll play Inter Miami on the round 3, and then we'll get Messi to lock him down. He won't do anything. He's almost 40. He's fine.
Yeah.
We'll put some straps on him. You know.
The question is, if we play them, who's more likely to get Messi's shirt from the team, right? Like that. That's gonna be.
I was just speaking about this with one of our players, which I will release because he was on our team last season. But just yesterday, I was talking to Matt Blaylock about this, and he said he has dibs on the jersey, and he also has dibs on locking him down.
Okay. I love the confidence.
He said he'll get him at least 2 times out of the 45 dribbles that he'll get around him.
I love it. Maybe that should be our first person on it is Blaylock, and ask him that question.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. So, okay. I believe, we've kind of covered at least hopefully what people hope to anticipate in future episodes, and we'll kind of figure out, I think, the frequency. I think we'll generally try to do it after each game, but with how the schedule is, we'll have to nail that down. But I will tell people, look out for the next episode in the Den of Kings. Holy cow. Wow, I don't even remember the name of our own show, and we just started.
You're fine.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. We appreciate you coming to the first episode of Den of Kings, the podcast that is all Southside related. So you can get it here. We're going to be posting this. This will be primarily on YouTube. We'll probably post clips on social media, but get it where you watch all your videos. But we appreciate you guys tuning in for the first episode, and we will catch you guys later.